Welcome to the Earthworks Podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon from many of our turf friends from the past 30 years.
Hello and welcome all of you Earthworks Podcast listeners. This is Jack Higgins in with another installment of the EW Podcast. Well, it's after the golf industry show, as many of you know, and this is kind of what marks the beginning of the season for many of us in this golf business. And for those listeners that aren't in the golf business exactly, we just wrapped up the golf industry show last week, and it was done virtually for the first time, which actually worked out pretty well in my view. And I want to thank everybody that came into the virtual Earthworks booth and chatted with us and kind of checked out some of our new media content. So thanks for getting in there. But now here we are next week, and really this is kind of the start of the season. Here in Jersey, we're still sitting on about 20 inches of snow on the ground, but the days are getting longer. It's still bright out later into the evening, and we're coming into that time of the year where that rate of change on sun angle is pretty high. So before you know it, we'll be cutting grass again. And for some of you guys in the southern part of the country, that day's going to be even sooner. So in the meantime, let's enjoy some good podcasts, right? And this week we've got a real good one with an old customer and buddy, good friend of mine, Juan Casiano. Juan talks about his career, and he really gets into a lot about kind of environmental stewardship, really. Juan does a great job at reducing the use of chemical input, of inputs totally. And he runs a municipal golf course in North Jersey, East Orange Golf Course, and you'll hear him talk about it, kind of some of the challenges that he ran into in this last year, but a lot about the successes that he's had and that East Orange has had with their golf course. And stick around for his reaction towards the end of the interview when I ask him and kind of embarrass him a little bit about his feature in the New York Times. That's right, everybody. Juan is the only superintendent I know to be featured in the New York Times. So you kind of hear his reaction when I bring it up. It's a lot of fun. Thank you all. Enjoy this edition of the Earthworks Podcast with Juan Casiano. Coming right up. So let's get started here with your golf career, Juan. First of all, for all of you that don't know, we've got Juan Casiano as you heard in the introduction, and so Juan, you're a Jersey guy, and I've met you here in Jersey. I know you're from Jersey, and I know that you've been to and worked and lived in just about every corner of the state.
Yeah. I mean, so went to Stockton in 1994. Ugh, makes me old. And in 95, I got a job at Atlantic City Country Club, which is near in the area that Stockton's located.
Yes.
And initially, I just walked mowed greens, and we talked about running a little bit. So I was a track guy in college, and, physical labor didn't really, bothered me. So I was like, oh, a golf course. Let's try a golf course. I started at AC Country Club in 95.
Let me interject just one second
Sure.
because I like to ask this question. Do you have any memory, or can you tell a story from your very first day on the golf course? Very first day working?
First day on the golf course, I was working with the second assistant. The guy's name, I believe his name was Chris Smith, kind of a pretty average name. We were teaching me how to run a PGM 22 Jacobson T-handle mower with
the
clutch.
The two cycle with the clutch in the middle.
Yeah, 2-cycle burning smoke. You were choking the smoke down forever, however long you're walking behind it. And he just had all types of problems with it. Got his fingers it was almost, and he's a great guy, but it was almost a lesson in some of the things I was like, well, I better never do that. I won't say what happened, but it was almost a lesson. A few things happened. Don't ever do that. So I remember it vividly, and that was on walk mowing range greens over there. And
Okay, that
probably 2 days later, I was on the route. One uh practice half of practice green, 1, 7, 9, and I would finish up with 18. And that was a route every day, 18-inch Jacobson walk mowers.
yep, starting on the range. I think a lot of guys could relate to starting on the range.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to give that person any opportunity to make any make any mistakes.
Do you think it was in May? Did you start like right after
No,
college?
it was end of June, early July, probably end of June, probably about, just being in the business now, just when people were really like jonesing for some good college workers, you
Yes.
know, and they hired me and 4 or 5 other guys. And at the time I didn't realize that I worked my way past them, but so they hired me to hand water hot spots on bent grass fairways. I mean,
Hmm.
okay, take the hose, water the grass that's brown. It's not brain surgery.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, I like the heat. I like pulling the hose, all that stuff that the guys would be in the woods chilling, doing whatever. I'd be out there just getting through my route, doing my
Yeah, bro,
route.
you're a sprinter. We just covered that.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm one of those weird people, sprinting and a little distance running. But I don't know, it just didn't bother me. So
Yes.
saying all that to say, I worked my way up on the golf course pretty quickly. Started being the person who was the hose dragger for the guy spraying the greens with the spray hawk. Um, that guy stopped showing up, so the boss started letting me be in the person run the spray hawk. I mean, I knew how to do it. I received, how they say on the job training, um, and just worked my way up responsibility wise, and more the pay came later.
Yeah. So great. So that was all at AC Country Club, which is a classic old course, right on the bay, right on the water.
Mhm.
Um, but and then where'd you go from there? And how long were you at AC? And
I was at AC Country Club on and off for a while. It was, I was a college kid, so I was,
Summers.
not necessarily looking to be there full time. I actually ended up at the end of my time there working full time, but I was there for about 4 years.
Hmm.
After there, I bounced around, graduated college, took a job in Manhattan, big boy job, and didn't work out. Came back to the golf course. It was like, nah, let me go back home.
I remember that you said you worked in the city and I think lived in Jersey City, right?
Lived in Jersey City, lived in like a pretty rough section of Newark just to try and like be able to do the commute thing.
Mhm.
And I guess to say now, I don't really talk about it or think about it much, but I got chewed up and spit out by the big city.
All right.
Um,
Yeah.
it's easy to, now I'm successful in my career relatively, so
Yep.
it's easier to acknowledge that. But at the time, it was, I was getting beat up.
Yeah, and that's fine. Well, you weren't working in golf, obviously, at that time.
No, no, I majored in business management and minored in computer science. So I was trying to do like information technology, and it was those jobs were tough to get. So I was just doing this was when e-commerce boom first happened.
Hmm.
And I just did a job selling advertising online.
Hmm.
And just, for one, there's a whole story that I won't go to all the details. It just didn't work out.
Right.
And
Yeah, no doubt. But you had built this passion you had already been on the golf course for 4 or 5 summers, you said, and you
yeah,
liked it.
yeah, for a long time, and I loved it. So I came back to AC and then decided to go to turf school. Decided to go to Rutgers. And while I was figuring out Rutgers, I worked at Stone Harbor Golf Club.
Yes.
Kent Thompson was the superintendent when I worked there, and then Dean.
That's a real linksy, sandy place in the Pines, kind
Yeah,
of.
and it was a tough place to grow. And they hired me because I knew that I was a good hand waterer. That ability to syringe or deeply water or kind of tell what the turf needed by looking at it was one of those things that I learned at Atlantic City and I've used, and it's helped propel me through my career.
Yeah, I know you
So
had a couple stops, obviously, in South Jersey, and now you're up at East Orange Golf Course, and
mhm.
they're both in Jersey, but like the climates couldn't be much different. They're quite different.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the the climate, the degrees wise, in the spring and fall is about 10 degrees warmer, let's say at Stone Harbor and
Mhm.
Cape May Courthouse, as opposed to Short Hills, New Jersey, and zero whatever up north, Essex
Mhm.
County, Cape May County, southern part of the state. Almost the north, not Sussex County, but I'm pretty close. Um, it's just the most difficult time of year is the summer, and all superintendents are going to say, of course that's true. But for me, the shoulder seasons are pretty easy, being a little bit up in elevation in short hills. But that July to August, the second week of August, that 6 week period is a bear. It's brutal, and I'm sure the guys that work around me would say the same thing. But after that, I don't want to say that it's easy, but it's a lot easier than it was working in South Jersey because of the water management issues.
Right. And the soil's totally different up by you.
Completely different.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that's people would say is a blessing and a curse. Some people would rather I as an agronomist would rather have sandy soil, not the clay soil that I have that's high in phosphorus and potassium. That's kind of tied up in the soil. Not kind of, it's tied up in my soil, and it's of no use really to me.
Right.
So yeah, the soils are challenging, and I don't know. I never really learned the soil formation factors of South Jersey and the Pine Barrens, but I know that it's a glacial plain that I work on now.
Right.
And that
Well,
the
down
rocks,
there is just kind of down there is like river delta. Like it's where like the land's meeting the ocean, and it's sand, and so you, like you say, you were dragging hose all the time, which you at least have control then. But you're battling weird grassy weeds down there like crazy, and yeah, well, it's very different. It's the same state, but it's very different.
Oh, very different, and that's like it was formed different. The ice using a lot of force to push everything one direction is very different from a lot of water moving things in a direction and accumulating.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that wasn't your last stop down there either. I know Stone Harbor, you were at Green Tree.
I worked at Green Tree, so I bounced around. I was at Blue Heron Pines as the assistant for a while. I worked with Sean Reynolds there. I was there probably for I think 3 years. It changed owners when I worked there. I got hired by Mr. Chun. That owner sold to, I guess, I don't know if he lost possession of the property or let the banks take it. And right when that happened, I remember like yesterday. Your story about being in the golf business. Super Bowl Sunday, or I'm sorry, Super Bowl Monday, I go in, I had yucked it up for Super Bowl, was kind of like hanging over, but I figured we'd be cutting trees and I would just work my way through it. Walk in, and it's a pretty somber environment, and it wasn't normally like that. Normally, the guys would be talking or whatever. There was no staff in there, which I was surprised to see no one in there. So long story short, I ended up getting let go from uh, Blue Heron Pines, went to Radley Run Country Club outside of Westchester. Worked there with another Sean Calley, for a couple seasons. He got let go at the end of this year, and they brought in a new guy. And during the during the transition, I got swept up in the new guy, of course, wants his own people or what have you. After that is when I was out of work for a little while, and then went to Green Tree, and they hired me at Green Tree as superintendent. The pros in the area, I guess not I guess my buddy that was the pro at Green Tree knew the pro at Blue Heron, and that's how I linked up with those guys.
Well, now Green Tree and East Orange, and this is the transition I kind of want to focus on. They're both Green Tree's a county golf course, and East Orange a municipal golf course. So it's government golf. You were on like the private side for a while, and your government golf, and I think that there's a need for both in the golf world. Like, and last week on the podcast we had Steve Rabideau from Wingfoot. There's a need for that too,
Of course.
but because we all want to watch the U.S. Open, and that's what gets golfers to the golf course. That's what gets them interested in the game. But we really do have a need for accessible golf for everybody, the people game.
I mean, that's what's going to grow our industry. That's what's going to keep our industry strong and solvent, and not retracting the amount of courses, but not necessarily expanding, but at least strongly maintaining what we have.
Yeah. And see, I think that that it doesn't always happen that the government runs the golf course the best way, but they can run a successful and profitable golf course that's profitable for the town, so that it can reduce property taxes. There's another revenue stream. There's
Or yeah, really just a revenue stream. I mean, most towns, taxes, uh, tickets, those type of things. There's not a ton of revenue producing items in a town that are needle movers.
Yeah, so let's talk about East Orange. Let's talk about your job because you're not just a superintendent there, right?
Technically, my title is quote unquote, put it in the quotes, superintendent. Through their system, the description is it's really superintendent and general manager. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the nuance. My title is just superintendent, but the role that I perform at East Orange is not just I'm responsible for making sure the greens get top dressed. I handle I oversee all of the operations items as well. I have a manager who handles that and I
Yeah.
oversee him, but I'm a hands-on type of guy, so it's my baby, so to speak.
Yeah. And you've done, let's talk about, you've been there for maybe 5 years or so, six?
They hired me, and I'll just give you a little bit of background about East Orange Golf Course. It
Excellent.
was a municipally owned golf course owned by the city of East Orange since the early 1920s. East Orange used to be a wealthy, white, affluent town. From the cops from Newark moved to East Orange. They were kind of moving on up, so to speak. They bought some property about a half hour away in Short Hills area, built a golf course.
Okay.
Who knows the whole history as it relates to how profitable the course was while they were open in 1975, but I can say from 95 to 2013, they were struggling.
Okay.
See, the taxpayers of East Orange were supporting the golf course, and the golf course wasn't necessarily during those times self-sustaining as you would have like it.
Right.
New mayor takes over in 2014. He at first decides to close the golf course, which was a big deal. People are out of jobs. Obviously, local golfers that's their course don't have no place to play.
Yeah.
They hired me to renovate it. Through just hard work and determination, I was able to prove my skills at Green Tree, another low budget county course,
Mm-hmm.
and got a phone call because we were at Green Tree. The adjacent property is Hayden Creek Golf Club. The superintendent at Hayden Creek was Clark Weld, and I knew Clark from Blue Heron Pine days, and just being in the area, South Jersey, and had befriended him when he was at Hayden Creek. And we had a big storm and I borrowed equipment from him. But through all of that, he was just like, man, I remember what Green Tree used to be. And he would start, I guess he was talking about it amongst people. I didn't never really heard about it. And I really appreciate that because a golf course architect, Stephen K, just one day calls me out of the blue. It's the summer of 2014. It's August, middle of August. I'm running around at Green Tree doing my thing. Stephen K calls me and is chatting me up. I'm like,
All
what are you
right.
chatting me up for? Hey, Steven, what's up? Like, eventually you know this about me. I'm a let's get to the point kind of guy. And he's like, no, Clark said you've been doing great things at Green Tree. You don't have a lot of resources. Would you be interested in interviewing for a renovation superintendent job in North Jersey? Of course, of course, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Um, so he didn't give me much information, so I didn't know what it was. I'm like, there's a seed that's planted. I'm Googling and looking up, trying to figure out what town has a golf course that's going to renovate. I could not for the life of me figure it out. He probably calls me 6 weeks later and we set up an interview. Doesn't give me the date, just says you have an interview. I gave him my resume, cover letter, all that, my portfolio, and doesn't give me the date. That's an important fact.
Okay.
Another 5 weeks goes by. I reach out to him. He says, oh, I'm not sure when they're interviewing for it. We get heavy rains on, let's say it's a Tuesday. On Wednesday, he calls me. I'm on my way to Green Tree to just check the grains and ride the course. Hey, good luck on Stephen K calls me. Hey, good luck on your interview today. I was like, Stephen, what are you talking about? I'm pulling into Green Tree Golf Course and got my rain gear on. I'm going to go get in the work truck and go check the drains.
Oh my
Like, oh,
God.
no. He's like, oh, no, you have an interview today at 8:00. I said, okay, well, I'm going to go home and iron my suit. It was ready mostly, but it was kind of on the hanger and been in the closet for a while. So get together and get some more, the way I like to interview is I like to talk about pictures of things that I've done. It makes it kind of easy to take control. So I put all that stuff together in like an hour and I raced up to East Orange and, long story short or long story longer, I got the job.
Excellent.
So that's kind of how I started at East Orange.
And Stephen was the architect. You guys were hit the ground running, right?
hit the ground running. He, asked me about varieties of turf I was interested in as it relates, because we regrassed the greens and
Mhm.
tee boxes and all that. And we just
Reshape them to some extent, or
tee boxes.
well, the greens, like the
The
whole green.
greens we reshaped. The greens were, when I got there was about 2.5 acres of greens, and we expanded them about a half acre.
Okay,
There's three, 3 acres of greens now.
and what did you do with the root zone? They were old push-up greens.
Old push up on a kind of a clay loamy mix. So we stripped off the top 2 inches. This is the construction company stripped off the top 2 inches of turf, sod, soil, thatch mat, all that good stuff. And then we brought in a 60-40 sand mix, 60% sand, 40% topsoil. That's something I probably would have changed, but we'll get back to that. Then they floated, leveled it. We put 007 bent grass on top of that. I
Seed or
can't say
sod?
enough positive things about 007
Yes.
uh,
Was that seed or sod?
sod, 007 sod on top of the that 60-40 medium, and then that push up medium underneath.
So yes,
So
I know you love 007, and you
that's the truth. I've been growing bank. I'm just gonna say this. I've been growing grass a long time, and I've had L93. I've had Pencross. I've had A4, A1. I've had, so I've had South Shore even, the
yes.
predominant turf, and out really reminds me a lot of L93,
Okay.
but it's way less leggy. If that's you know what
Yeah,
I
no,
mean.
that's
It's
right.
way less like, I don't know, leafy.
Yeah, and I think it's got a really fine blade and an upright growth, like it.
Hmm.
And yeah, for bank, and but it does still crawl, right? Like you can recover it. If you thin out, does it creep a
Yeah,
little
it
bit?
does fill in, and that's the thing. Is that's the rub with 007 is the fertility. So guys that love the fertilize probably love 007 even more because it really responds.
Okay.
I have trouble with recovery because I try and go super lean on the fertility.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why we're here, as
Right.
far as what we're going to talk about. But that is something that I plan on changing in my program because I desire to get a little more recovery from ball marks.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So let's get back to your first year there. You lay the sod, and you had like reshaped greens, new tee
Mhm.
boxes. Well, not new.
New irrigation system, high quality irrigation system, all the bells and whistles. The Rainbird IC system. It's each individual head I can turn on individually. That's a lot of guys can't do that.
Mhm.
Um, so from that
But you also
perspective,
had expectations from the town. They wanted this place they wanted people to golf there.
they wanted to turn it around. The plan was in 5 years that we'd be turning a profit.
Right.
So that was, we designed a golf course that actually provided amenities not just to the local golfers, but to people who didn't really golf as well. So we put it didn't have a driving range previously. We spent $750,000 on putting in a driving range.
Yes.
Um,
You had to put in the net fence
the
because
net fence and that cost, that was the lion's share of the cost.
Mhm.
Um,
But that
so
driving range is always full. I mean, people.
driving range is a big money maker. We make a lot of money. I'd like to try and guy who's running the place. I'd like to figure out how to make more money out of the driving range and have a couple ideas, stay open later, lights, those type of things.
Sure.
Um, but it's a big money maker. But that said, we actually shortened the course. It used to be 6,100 yards, and we took that. We actually basically just took a hole away
Okay.
to create the driving range, the old first hole.
Mhm.
Excuse me, in the beginning of the old second hole, and now the golf course starts on the old third hole.
Okay. And where did you fit in the other two holes?
That's a good question. That's a good question. We
They
changed the fourth hole. We changed. How did we do that?
they were
We changed 17. A bunch. We changed like 3 or 4 holes to be able. So it made sense for a par 70,
right,
57,
right,
85 with our yardage.
right.
Um, but first year, ergonomically speaking, we wasn't. It was hard because it's sod, and you learn in turf school. Oh, you never want sod, because I had those layers that I talked about, and then the sod comes with its own layer. We did not get washed bent grass sod. The project, we just couldn't afford it. We had $3.25 million to complete the renovation of the entire golf course, new irrigation system, driving range, etc. So they got a lot of bang for their buck. We did a lot of work for that, but we should have probably washed the sod.
Right.
And I think if I had my choice, I would have rather taken more of the old root zone out.
Okay.
I would rather, most guys say you can probably get your roots to grow 5 or 6, or I know it's way longer than, let's say 8 inches, but I know that in June I'm managing that 5-6 inches, the top 5 or 6 inches.
Do
So
you
if it was
have
all
any
sand, I
internal
feel like I'd be
drainage?
better off.
Is there any drainage down there?
No.
It's all
I
surface.
had XGD on it. We put in XGD on a few greens, on 4 greens that were the worst greens. Old construction techniques where they started. I'm gonna give you an example on the 6th hole, for instance. They started that what they said the tee box was going to be, and they pushed all this, out of the way, and then a lot of material up to elevate the green. And so that's exactly what they did at my golf course that has this alluvial floodplain underneath it. So the 6th green, the natural existing rock underneath it is so prevalent that it just really, it makes it 10 degrees, 15 degrees, at least 10 degrees hotter in the summer.
Right.
When you go down and probe it, it's the top canopy is that much hotter.
And it sits on a reservoir, so it can be pretty swampy. Like there's water right nearby.
The 6th hole is at the end of the swamp.
There you go.
The runoff, if the reservoir were ever to overflow, there's this runoff area, and the 6th hole sits at the end of that. 6 and 7 sit at the end of that.
So, and now, we covered no real internal drainage outside of what you did with some XGD on the, to really, we're relying on surface drainage. We've got this kind of thick sort of clay soil there that can hold
Correct.
water. We've got the humidity of this giant body of water sitting right next to you.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's throw on top of it, how many rounds did you do in 2020?
2020 we did. So we went from, let's just say we went from 22 to 25.5. That's about how many more rounds we've seen. And that 3,000 rounds really beat up the golf course. You wouldn't, I didn't think there would be that big of a difference. And I would actually say agronomically in 2020, we were stronger than we were in 2018 when it rained a lot, but the golf course had its issues with specific areas, but the greens were pretty solid. The tee boxes were pretty solid that year because we got less concentrated play. Now we're getting, the place is packed from morning till night, which is good. It's I'm gonna have a job and all those good things as a result of that. But as the person who is taking care of the turf, it presents this huge challenge where, how do I get these greens to have less ball marks? And that's what we were talking about, the recovery. And I think I have to change my approach to the fertility. I think my liquid approach is pretty solid. It's worked out well. I think they need a little more granular fertility.
Yeah. I mean, there's a big difference between places that do 10,000 rounds a year and places that do 26,000 rounds a year, and places that are built with all the porosity in the world on greens and places that aren't.
Right.
So there's a big difference. I mean, I don't know what the right word is. It's environmental, sustainable, reducing inputs, but whatever that is, I know you exemplify it over there.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we try and, if we talk about programs, and I have a funny story that I left, we talked about me being at Green Tree. So obviously a guy took over after me, calls me on the phone, and he's like, hey, buddy, because I knew him previously. I won't name the guy's name, but calls me. He's like, what's going on with your program? I noticed you didn't spray. Like, you hardly sprayed. You sprayed 4 times on fairways, 5 times with that your sprays had fungicide in them.
Yes, yeah. So you're talking about fungicides.
Yeah, fungicide spray. You sprayed your tees about 6 times. You sprayed your greens 8 times all year with fungicide. I sprayed them. I'm spraying them other times with other things, but just, I would say that on a typical program of a guy who isn't trying to reduce inputs, I do half as much. Not half as much because I don't desire to do the same as what you're doing. I do half as much because the simple way to say it is there's just another way to get those type of results that I'm looking for.
There you go.
Another way to skin the cat. I know guys that My greens last year, total nitrogen was about 3 pounds of N per 1,000 square feet. Um, and I think that's low. Some guys would say, oh, that's high. I'm here to tell you, I didn't get the recovery I needed. And that's the one, if you look at my program, I sat here and I looked at it and I said, I need more, I need a little, I'm not saying I got to, every 6 weeks, I got to dump out a half a pound of N to keep them growing. No, no, no. I just think like they need a little more, and it's the summertime application that everyone's like, I never put any granular on my greens during from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Okay, well that's a great badge of honor to wear, but in my opinion, the golf course that I'm trying to keep nice, and playable and play well and aesthetically pleasing,
Right.
I think it needs.
It,
I'm
it
telling you, it needs another pound a year.
Yeah, yeah, and it could use a quarter pound shot right here in the middle of July, in a nice stretch.
Maybe a 10-2. I don't know. I used to use 10-2-5, and I
Right.
got away from it, and I think I'm going to go back to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the cool thing about 10-5 is you can use so little product. 2 pounds
Yes,
per
sir.
thousand is your quarter pound of nitrogen.
Yeah, and
So
that's the thing that I've taken out of my program. So I've looked when I started after the renovation, my program was a good shot of 3-3-3 with Myco during the renovation. I mean, during the aerification, I would probably skip 10-2-5 for that next application and just try and ride that couple of liquid, shots to bridge the gap. And then I'd throw out a third of a pound, 0.33 pounds of N per 1,000 of 10-2-5. And that was probably, I found that at a quarter pound, it just didn't feel like enough material. I didn't get the response I was looking for. But at a third, it was, calcium, it's all stuff I'm looking for.
carbon, man, it's biological soil management.
I mean, of course, of course.
um yeah, so you do stuff like that, and you do that on greens, but you also do it on fairways, and you do, and you've got these, what, like probably 2 acres of tees.
2 acres of tees. We're expanding the tee boxes this year. I'm looking to get another. I hope that the season is
25,000
busy.
rounds, 2 acres of tees, man. You get, yeah,
Come on, so we got to expand it. I'm looking to get it. I'm not really. I'm only talking 10,000 square feet more, but that'll make a big difference in how I can manage where we place the tee markers and train my guys to. There's a certain system that we have, and they do it pretty well. But then you get one guy who's not thinking, and he messes up throws a monkey wrench in that. So um, fairways last year, I was really happy with my program, and what I did with Earthworks was 3-4-3 at a third of a pound of N early. I did it March 15th, somewhere thereabouts. Rode that for a while, and then I didn't do any more Earthworks. And I'm going this year. The program is to 3-4-3, 8-2-2, and then see what gets me from there.
right,
Um, I
right.
think I've been doing the Earthworks heavy program for so many years, and these are the things that people who listen to this podcast will know. It's kind of like heavy, 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 and then you start to back off with the
Hmm.
things that you're putting out, and that's why I like switching from the 822, which I used to just apply that everywhere, twice a year, 3 times a year. I would go from the edge of the tee box, tee to fairway, fairway, primary rough, green surround. Now I kind of have dialed it in where the fairways get 3-4-3. The rough this year is going to get 8-2-2, probably 2 shots. Not not a half a pound of N per 1,000. That's too much. I mean, for me, it's too much.
Right.
I think a third is great. I get a great response. If I'm looking, if I'm chasing the dragon a little bit as it relates to trying to get growth and things to fill in, I'll bump it up to a 0.4 pounds of N per 1,000. And that's about as high as I'll go. And that's usually 2 times. I always say, Jack, and I've purchased the 822 and it's sat there till the next spring. I'm going to go one more time. And then what happens? It's September 15th, and cooler nights, you get those 20-degree differences in the temperatures, or a bit larger.
Right.
And the turf I have loves it, and things are great.
Yeah, yeah. And if the plant, it was healthy enough and kept in good shape during the bulk of the growing season, during that summertime and all,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't need the same recovery as, like, if you're trying to bring a golf course back to life.
Correct.
um well, so let's see. You also you also lean on C3, I know, and you being particularly into biology, you take advantage of that biovantage and get that bacillus going. I think
Yes,
that
sir.
that probably helps a lot with reducing your need for fungicides.
Yeah, that's a great, I hate to say it in a cliche way, but that's a great segue. But that's exactly, I had a conversation with someone while I've been off this winter, meet a buddy for lunch, talking about things. He's in the business, knows a lot about turf management, agronomy, and I explained here, hey man, here's my program, here's what I've done, here's how I do. When you ask me why do I spray this, why do I spray this, here's how I do it. And he just tried to debunk everything. He was, it was kind of like, whatever, do aliens exist or any of those things that people try and disprove or prove. I'm saying that the facts are, in 2018 in the fall, I aerified in the early September. I put out a third of a pound of 333 with the myco in it. I did not spray one more fungicide app until the spring of 2019. Tell me why. Tell me
Whoa.
why. I want someone to tell me why. In addition, every like 3 weeks, I would spray a little liquid nitrogen, a little, look good package with the BioVantage water in feel good package.
There you go.
And I don't have all the science. That's kind of what we're talking about. That's what kind of you're there for, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I know that this is my empirical data suggests by doing it, I have reduced my fungicide apps 30 to 40%, and not just at East Orange Golf Course, at Green Tree Golf Course as well. This program that I kind of am running at East Orange, I figured it out. I kind of put all my pieces together at East Orange. I mean, at Green Tree.
Right. Right.
Because at Green Tree, that's the beauty of working at a county course. We talk about what are your thresholds for how you want things to be. So at a municipal course, the golfer doesn't really. Everyone thinks they know when the ball is rolling in a good way. I'm not sure if that's true. Most times I get compliments on the green just because especially when I was at Green Tree, for sure, was when they looked really good.
There you
Not there, I
go.
wouldn't say they were playing really good. They looked really good.
Yeah.
Now the golfers I have, they want the ball to be rolling. They think they want 12. They don't want 12. They want 9.
Right. Right. Yeah, there you go. And you can deliver 9 and you can keep the place looking good and you can do it with using half the amount of fungicide. Also probably water. You're lean with water.
Pretty lean with water. I mean, that's the one thing that's another reason really why I love 007 is, we do our tee sheet is through golf now. I guess it's okay to say that on here, but they have where people leave reviews. When the reviews are through water management that the greens are rock hard, they're not dead, Jack. They're perfectly healthy. The moisture content is right where they should, right where I desire them to be. But the
Right.
ball is bouncing into off the green, and golfers that aren't aware of that, haven't played there before, are upset about it, and they leave you negative reviews because of it. I mean, Jack, the course was immaculate, blown off, mowed tight, inch and 3/4 rough, half-inch fairways, all that good stuff. And a negative bunkers raked out, and the negative review was greens were too hard, not
Yeah.
dead, not full of weeds.
Right.
Too,
The
you
greens
know.
are too hard. Yeah. Maybe your game doesn't know how to play that you
Well, and that's the thing, is you have to have that little bump and run game. You're not trying to, if you're a 15 handicapper, I don't expect you to be hitting a 60-degree wedge into the green and trying to spin it like past. Yeah, no one's doing that. I
Yeah.
play a lot of golf with a lot of different people. No one's doing that.
No, no. We played together. I'm not doing that.
No, and you play with, my game's better than that day, way better than that day, but no, I'm still not doing that. I love the bump and run. I try and dribble it up onto the edge of the green with what I'm working with.
Yeah.
So
So
back to reduced inputs. This year, the spring of 2020, I didn't spray a fungicide on my greens till June. The only thing I sprayed on my greens as a feeling like I was doing something to keep the disease away was water in BioVantage, and all the proper, keep my nutrients in level and in check, so to speak, based on my soil consultant's recommendations.
yeah.
0050s and all those type of applications that I have to get out.
Right.
But the key thing, gallon per acre, BioVantage, every 14 days.
Dude, and it's good
Bucket.
money for you.
I
Yeah.
had put some urea in there. C3 when I had it, I ran out.
Right.
But the program was BioVantage C3 and another company's penetrating product to get it down to the root zone.
No doubt.
And greens were strong and very little granular fertilizer. But I think I need to make them stronger at that time of year. Make them thicker at that time of year so they'll just withstand the damage when they're getting peppered up with mortars from the hackers that are all white clawed up. Because that's what I pick up. If I don't pick up 10 white claw containers on the golf course, it's not a good day.
Well, now, and so East Orange, you got that new clubhouse. You people come. The driving range is full. People are golfing. Is the course is profitable? That you had a goal, 5 years profitability, right?
That's a good question. We have actually been at operational break-even point, which is, I know that's a very specific term, which is it's not profitable, but we've been there for 2 seasons now. So this year, we actually turned a profit.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. So we've achieved the goal. It's been hard to get the people that I work for to acknowledge that the goal has been achieved.
Mm-hmm.
But what you realize is that they're not on your, and this is a terrible way to say this, but they're not like swarming around as much. They're not on your back.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. Yeah.
So it's the places. It's a good test of golf. I would love a little more sand, and we're going to work on adding some more bunkers as time goes on and making the course a little more challenging. But when the reviews are, it's a good course and it's too easy. Okay, because that's, some people are looking for a good course that's in good condition, and it's an easy test of golf. That's where I go. I can name you 3 or 4 places I play regular golf as a superintendent that I go and pay, and I'm not in the business when I walk into that pro shop. I just go play rack rate Twilight or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's in good condition.
Uh-huh.
And it's a good test of golf.
And it's fun.
And it's fun.
Yeah,
Have a good time. The atmosphere is fun, all
yeah.
those type of things. So East Orange is, from that perspective, we have achieved the goal. It's I don't really think about it much. It's not one of those things that, but yeah, the goal is we made about 1.3 this year.
All right, dude.
Just around 1.3. Last year we made 1,075,000. So those are real numbers. That increase is real numbers. Some would say, I was in a meeting with someone recently with the city of East Orange, and the sentiment was, now that's the floor. And I said, of course, the numbers that achieved in 2020 are the floor. Well, of course that's the floor. You want to keep setting a new floor. That's why I work so hard. That's why,
you're damn right.
It's not the same work hard that the private country club guy has, but it's why I desire to be the engine that keeps the place solid. When you pull in, you don't want it to be like, oh man, where am I? We've all had those experiences. You want it to be like, oh, this looks like I'm going to have a pretty good day. Place looks right when you pull in.
The people that have longevity in this business,
Mm-hmm.
they get that the new floor was last year's best. You're only as good as yesterday, right? So like,
and that's a great running analogy. You're only as good as your last race.
Right.
I had a tough coach in high school, and I said we'd win stuff and do great things, and he'd be like, yeah, so what are you gonna do next week? That would be literally the first thing he'd say. So I've kind of always had that mentality where you have to continue to strive to be better.
Mm-hmm.
I could have done 0 to my golf course this winter, and the place would have been solid for 2021.
Yeah, but I know you're working out there this winter. You've been dropping trees and everything.
Yeah. It's funny. I posted on social media, on Facebook, I posted a video. A buddy of mine that knew me from another course was like, you love tree work. No. It's really like, I got to like smack myself in the face and get psyched up for it. Wow. But it's a necessary evil, because I'm the guy standing under that tree in June or July or in August saying this turf is struggling because that tree is there,
That's right.
or because it's not getting any eastern morning sun,
Mm-hmm.
Then that's kind of like every winter, cheesy management techniques, but in my head. And if I actually had a real staff, these are the things we talk about. But
Right.
we come up with a mantra for the wintertime, or it's what we're trying to achieve for 2021 or the next season. This year's, and I said it to my sales consultant. He looked at me like I was crazy, but it's fighting for East,
Yes, I
fighting for
like
that
it.
Eastern sky.
Yes.
Because
Fighting for East.
fighting for East. I might get it on a shirt or something.
Yes.
All the stuff you see on shirts nowadays, right? Something that's kind of benign and positive, not
Yeah.
going to get everyone all whooped up into a
Hashtag, brother.
hashtag fighting for East. Because you remember my ninth tee box that's socked in the woods.
Yep.
I
Yep.
opened all that up. I mean, we still have to clean the wood. I just dropped the trees one day when it was snowing. We dropped them all into the woods. So I got to cut them in pieces and push it back into the woods.
Right. But you're setting the golf course up to play well.
To have some actually like the champion tee on 9 to actually have some turf on it.
Yeah,
I didn't build
be
it
nice.
there. I didn't build it there, but
Right.
I gotta keep the grass there.
That's it.
So we're gonna resod, probably like 5,000-6,000 square feet of some tee box area. And that's the one thing that guys I don't think about that. How do you keep your course as good as you desire it? Well, sometimes you're not going to get it through that 50-pound bag of seed and the guy sitting on the whatever tractor you have and seating setup you have.
Mm-hmm.
The answer may be I have to redo a few tee boxes.
Yeah.
The cost resod. When I say redo, I mean resod a couple of tee boxes.
And clear the land so that gets sunlight and that
create the environment and then give some plants a chance to grow. I mean, during the construction, the first 2 years, I was able to keep those tees alive.
Right.
They've struggled on the third year.
Right.
So,
well, you were kicking rounds up every year too.
Correct. And I didn't have we came up with a really pretty good divoting system or tee movement divoting system. I need a better divot mix. All the things that I want to make it in house.
Talk about a divot mix. We'll talk about it.
I know you got me covered. I know you got me covered. But I need something that I'm and I've had things that I've used, and next sales guy comes in and it's like the shiny object that rolls by. I'm like, oh, let me try that. I saw something on TurfNet when I was waiting to connect here. That product looks fantastic, but what is it going to cost me?
There you go.
If it's going to add, let's say I could do it for, and it's going to germinate. I'm going to get good germination with using this mix. It's going to add $3,000 or $4,000. Book it, done. Sign me up tomorrow. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think this stuff would be more like 8 to 10 for the season.
Right.
It's a special. It's just this stuff for divot mix. It's I don't really care. My thing is I need the divots to fill in, and I can't. The topsoil that I get isn't good. I don't have time to sit in the loader and take scoops of sand and scoops of topsoil and make the mix that I did, and I have a pretty nice one now. But I'm definitely in the market for a better.
Well, you're exactly right. By the middle of July, when you're trying to keep the golf course alive and running around like crazy, like you're gonna be able to do it again. So I want to close out with and I kind of meant to open with it really, but how many golf course superintendents do you know got profiled by the New York Times? Huh?
Listen to me. Stop it. I'm not. It's one of it's a limelight thing, and I'm not a limelight kind of person. My friends that know me would be like, "No, bro, you're totally a limelight guy." No, I'm not. Like I just act that way. That's like the shtick, right?
So tell us a little bit about that. Well, what was that?
It was part of the renovation. The lady who worked for the city of East Orange, her name was Valerie Jackson. She kind of spearheaded the project. Yeah. She wanted the advertising through news media about the project. That makes
right
sense.
And that is that that East Orange, which can be characterized as sort of a down on its luck for many years sort of town. But does have this gem of a golf course there that is an asset to the town. And the talk at the time 5-6 years ago was that we're just going to throw it away, we're going to shut it down. But then there was, I guess, enough movement to say no, let's invest, and that's
correct. Yeah, so she set up the interview. It was cool. People, my friends, my boys back home are like, "Oh, you're in the Times." I'm like, it is awesome to be in the Times, but it's just through happenstance, because I took a renovation job at a town that was, I could be from East Orange City Hall, you could be at Madison Square Garden with zero traffic in less than 15 minutes, probably 10 minutes. So that's it's more the proximity to the city of New York than the New York Times. I know I have to say that. I feel it's a good article. I got a little piece in there,
Oh, it's a great picture too.
Oh yeah, me sitting there looking like a typical golf jockey. Nah, I mean, I love the business. I can't say, and without going down a tangent, I can't say that necessarily the business has always loved me, but I love the business. I couldn't imagine, being a project manager for a construction company or all the other things that I could kind of do and be an agronomist. It's, I like to play golf. I like the atmosphere around clubs, whether it's public or private. It's
you like the guy, you like the crew, you like the people that work there. You like
I would say that I'm a people person. So that separately, that's very little to do with earthworks and turf grass, but it was neat to be in the Times. It's one of those things where if my kids are proud of it when I'm 75, 30 years, 29 years, great. It's my wife was like, oh, you're doing a podcast, and she kept trying to ask me questions, and I'm like, it's my buddy, it's a friend of mine, like it's a podcast, but like I feel like it's a friend of mine asking me to do a podcast, as much as it is we're gonna talk about some real stuff for turf grass.
Yeah, but well, cool, man. I mean, I really appreciate you getting on, and trust me, people are listening to this.
I hope so. I hope
I've only interviewed one guy that was in the Times, bro. I've only interviewed.
Come on. You were waiting for that. You knew that. You were assessing this whole time, right? And you were like, listen, if I say this at the beginning, am I going to throw this guy off his game?
Oh, you're so right.
I know that. I got you. I'm picking it up.
Did they nail the article? I mean, did you like it?
Yeah, no, it was all. It's a blessing. It's awesome. They nailed it. It's always good to be in the paper for looking like how I look, feeling like how I feel. It's better to be in the paper for something good than something bad. My buddies from home were like, hey, could have been the perk walk.
We know other people that were in the paper, dude.
Right. They just, give me a hard time, So it was this whole, getting this job and having some level of success, and having definitely some trials and tribulations, some of the trials and tribulations along the way. It's been awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
It's been pretty awesome. I mean, I wish Earthworks was a little better, but no, I'm just kidding.
Thanks. We have fun, dude.
Well, I told you that I'm glad that we were finally on, because I said I'd talk good about your stuff on the record. And because it's the truth. I mean, you come to my property and you're like, oh, what have you done? And I know it's been less in the last 2 years. And that's just because things are responding to the program, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what sustainability is, right? I mean,
it's a sustainable program. And I renovated the golf course with all Earthworks products. 822, 343 I didn't use. 333 is what I used all the time. 1025 was a big, one that I haven't mentioned, which is my favorite product. And it's getting more use this year. 545.
Oh yeah, dude. The old standby.
It's so I used to put it on greens, and I was like, man, it's too strong for greens. There's too much response on greens. Why don't I use it on my freaking fairways? Why don't I use it on my fairways?
Yeah, or at least the weak areas,
I mean, it's, so think about it. I said 343. What if I had knocked out 343 with 545? Well, replace one with the other.
No doubt, dude. There's something we can talk about. Something to think about.
Something to talk about.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much, Juan.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, dude. This was fun. It was
a good time.
All right.
You couldn't wait for that New York Times, huh, buddy?
I mean, it is awesome.
No, it is awesome. And I don't want you to think I don't feel it's awesome. It's one of those things where, like,
Oh, you got your, yeah, everyone was busting your balls about it, I'm sure.
I have just having my chops busted about it, and in a good way. Like how the huge smile you have on your face, and how I'm sitting here like with the awkward, the anxious, No, but it was neat at the time, to this job that I thought would be just this basic renovation job,
Right. Well,
and then you kind of
that's
work
really
like
what I
there.
wanted to get out here, and I know that's what the Times wanted to get out here too, is that um, you're doing a really cool thing for the town of East Orange, but
Mhm.
for municipal golf in general. Just for golf. I worked at St. Andrews. Golf started as a game for the people. It
Right.
was the links land that linked the useful land to the ocean. This was
Mhm.
the links land. It's like a park. It's common land. Let's have a game that everyone enjoys, and that's what you're doing there.
Yeah, no, and it's true. I don't look at it like that, but it is definitely presenting a successful model for municipal golf.
Hell yeah.
No, and I never even really viewed it that way, but because a lot of municipalities don't desire to take it on. They manage it out like I can
Mhm.
think of a bunch of places that are managed by other people, and it's a challenge. It's hard. It's definitely, I'm not without a ton of, and I would say my biggest challenge, if that's a question that might be asked, is education. Educating the people that I work for, because they're not necessarily golfers, you
Right.
know, and that's the hardest part, is they don't necessarily understand. And we're not, and municipalities aren't necessarily in a for-profit business. So the concepts that ring true in for-profit business don't necessarily ring true in municipal government.
Well, I'll tell you who it's for profit for are all the people that work there,
Yeah.
they're
Oh yeah.
getting paid. There's some
Hmm.
profit
Hmm.
there, right? And there's a
Hmm.
lot of people that now have an income, families that have an income
Correct.
because they got a great place to work.
And that's kind of the pressure that I feel, is every year to keep it solid. Is this year we had 16 employees. Next, the 2021 we'll probably have 22 to 26 employees.
Yeah, that's something to be proud of. Hell yeah.
I'm proud of it, but I also feel the pressure to be able to keep that wheel moving, so to speak.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. With great power comes great responsibility.
Thank you, Jack. Thank
Oh
you.
man. All right, man.
It was good talking with you.
Yeah, good talking with you, Juan. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, see you, pal.
Take care. Bye.